G'day, I am Sarah Mack and welcome to another episode of the South Eastern Women's Football League show. Company today here with Sophie Strickland. She's still in the ice bath after a game with Frankston, but it's a special occasion, so I wore my party shirt and I hope you all appreciate. But I've got plenty of people to talk with me today and they're looking far better than I am in their official South Eastern tops. We've got Gary, we've got Ellie and we've got Vicky all to talk to us today about everything that has been happening in the South Eastern Women's Football League and also about the Intraleague coming up, the Intraleague game that's coming up. Hello and welcome, guys. Hey, Gary.
Hi, Sarah. It's good to be back. Second week.
Thank you.
It was good. I enjoyed it last week, so yeah, great to be back.
Thanks for coming. Elle?
Yep, good to be here.
Yeah?
Thanks for having me on.
Vic?
Same. Thanks for having me here.
No worries. And today we are one of our major sponsors is Bendigo Bank for not only supporting the GameFace app but also the South Eastern Women's Football League. So big ups and thank you to them. But it has been another big round of football in round 3. We still have quite a few undefeated teams with the Sharks now going undefeated. Murrumbidgee and Cranbourne from Div 2, Pakenham and Frankston are all still undefeated. But let's head straight into round 3 and Division 1. One of the biggest games of the week, which I think some of you guys might agree with, was Seaford and the Sharks played, and it looks like the Sharks have taken the chocolates. Gary, did you have a thought who might take out that game at all?
Well, I had a thought, and I'm going to say I was right, but I was actually wrong. I thought Seaford, having seen Seaford in the first round against Eastern, I thought they were really this time of the year going to be outstanding, but Sharks are the one at the moment. They've sent the benchmark, and I think that was a clear indication in the result. You've got to factor in as well, it was played at the Peanut Farm, so home ground advantage, but it's 9 shots to 3.
Yep.
So it's a pretty decisive win, and yeah, they've sent the benchmark for everyone to chase.
Yeah, absolutely, and really great to see as well they're out there doing the Pride game this weekend, so I've got a few photos as well from that match. So the teams look fantastic in their Pride coloured jerseys, so it was really good to see. There
was a couple other games too that I mentioned last week that I thought were really important. You're going to see where Bass and obviously Beaconsfield were at. Bass came out winners, but I think they sort of indicate they're pretty even and a long way from the top divisions. Port Melbourne, I thought, were a real on the move and played Cranny, who you guys beat the week before quite comfortably, didn't score. So I know Belinda Ousley was disappointed in their results, but I think that indicated that there's almost a top 4 in the Sharks, Seaford, Eastern and Cranny. And then you've got the bottom 4 or middle 4 really going to fight out maybe for that 5th spot during the season. But it's so early in the year. So.
Oh, absolutely. One of the other games that we had was the Devils versus Mornington. And we have 2 of the players over here that battled it out over the weekend. Butch, how did it go?
Good for us. Devils came out with a quite comfortable win. Sorry, Vicky and Mornington. Quarter time, there was only 2 points in it, so... it could have gone anyway, but we I think just had a little bit more composure than Mornington and just came away with the goods in the end. And
how did you feel, Vic? How did you find it on the other side?
Yeah, it was a tough game, and Eastern came out firing from the get-go, and we challenged them in that first quarter. I think that might have shocked a few of you, or like the players in general, as to how strong we were in that first quarter, but you guys with experience just took away in the second, third and fourth, and it was a good experience for us Mornington girls. We have a lot of young players up and coming that are developing from youth girls and stuff, so for us it was an experience, and yes, not the scoreboard we would have liked to see at the end of the day, but there was a lot of learning and development we got out of it, which is probably the most important thing for South Eastern women's footy.
Are there any standout girls from the Mornington team that are kind of coming through that you're going to think is going to be good to watch over the years?
One potential up-and-comer that I see as being a ripper midfield player is Kyan Wells, number 50 I think on the weekend, and she is just gone 18, has done gymnastics for the last...
First year of footy.
Like 10, 15 years, and she trained elite gymnastics and is just an absolute pocket rocket. Like, she's just a jet. She picks up the footy well, she knows where to position herself, and she's just 1 year of footy and she's already developing. And I think learning from a lot of mids that we've got in there at the moment with experience, she's going to really develop and grow from that, and she's the one that I'm really excited to develop and work with. She's awesome.
Yeah, I watched the game for the whole game, and when you look at the scoring shots, 27 to 2. The first quarter it was 3-1. So the rest of the game, Eastern really showed experience. And I've done a bit of sort of research on Mornington. 15 of their prelim players from last year's prelim aren't playing. 10 of them are out injured. 4 of them season-ending injuries, and 2 are off to VFL.
Yep.
And you've got 3 that aren't playing. So 5 first-year players in the first. And I sort of flagged it last week in the games I've seen Mornington beat Beaky and Bass. They have got a lot to learn, and playing against players like you, Mac. I mean, we talk about you played 180 or 200 games. The most senior games in this Mornington group at the moment, they haven't got a 50-game player. I would imagine. Other than
We've got Jazz, and we've got
Rollins.
Tegan
Jazz,
De Borny, who's also played 80 or so games at other clubs.
Yeah. But they will go away from that, and it's a bit like I really enjoyed playing the top teams last year because it showed you what you need to do to get to the next stage. Losing is a really good way to learn, and Mornington will take that. And I've seen that in the last 2 Eastern games. In the first game against Seaford, what you've taken away from that and how you've come together.
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
We're a completely different team to what we were like and played in our first round. It's chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
So it was good that we had our first loss because we now know what we have to push for, and we've been doing that week in, week out and getting better each week.
And you can now take that. You have to take that and set yourselves on the game when you're playing the Sharks. Right, that's your challenge next year. And Cranny. Oh, you've already played Cranny, but you've played the top teams so far. I look at you've played Seaford, you've played Cranny. You've now really got to look at the Sharks as your real next challenge.
2nd of June.
Yeah.
2nd of June, you got the date.
I'm ready.
Locked in.
I'll be there to watch it, hopefully.
So taking a quick look as well as some of the goal kickers from the Division 1, currently just leading with goal kickers on the scoreboard from the St Kilda Sharks. Georgia Harris is currently on 9 and closely followed by Emily McElvena, EMAC, from the Devils. So she's currently on 6 and kicked nice 4 snags on the weekend. So
yeah,
pretty
and
good.
one of your standout players in the last 2 games, I've mentioned Shelley Beggs. She has been instrumental in structuring up. She gave away, I reckon she gave the player you just mentioned 3 goals just by unselfish play. She is a real focal, and I'm putting it out there to all the other teams. She on the forward line is a focal point for Eastern.
Not even on the forward line, though.
No, I
She
saw her
plays
defensively.
anywhere.
Yeah, I saw her
She just
defensively.
slots in
against
anywhere. And she's
Gary, don't give away all this. Great, thank you very much.
She's very good.
So now we've got some, there are milestones that we are looking for people to let us know about. If anyone in your club is celebrating a milestone, you've got some photos from that, we'd love to see you send it in. We've got an example here from Chloe Hunt, who celebrated her 50th over the weekend, so big ups to Chloe. We also had Kim Ebb from the Seaford Football Club actually celebrate 250 games just a couple of weeks ago, which is a sensational effort. She started playing footy in 1999 and has played for the Western Bulldogs, the Hawthorn in the VFL, and is just a fantastic player. So a little bit late, but big ups to Kim Ebb down there from the Seaford Footy Club. All right. So let's move along to Div 2. So they've also just had round 3, and Murrumbina are obviously the big team to beat again.
Yeah, I specifically went and watched the Murrumbina Eastern game because I'd seen Eastern and Cranny the week before in a 1-point game. And Cranny is the other, I think, Div 2 team that's undefeated. And I specifically went to watch Danny Warren, who's in our interleague squad, but also 3 or 4 of the Murrumbina players who we are likely to play against. And Alice Kavess, Shani Carter and Lauren Laugh, all very, very good, outstanding players. And in that game, against Eastern, they won by over 10 goals. So 10-11 to 1-2. So again, 3 shots to 21. They are a 10-goal better side than the 3 teams they've already played this year. And when you look at the previous games that Eastern have played against Cranny, who beat Tyre by 7 or 8 points, they already appear to be a 10-goal better team in Div 2, which I don't think's good when I look at players like Danny Warren and Shani. They're not being tested yet, and if I was to make a decision, and I know AFL Southeast can look at after 3 rounds, I would be strongly suggesting and they jump to Div 1 now. You've got a week to get that get them up. I think Bass need to come down because they've lost a lot of players, and I think it will be for the betterment of Murrumbina and it would also be betterment of those particular top quality players. Because might sound strange, they won by 10 goals, but they didn't play. They could play a lot better footy. When I saw Mornington win their 2 games over the previous 2 weeks against lower sides, they played the same brand of footy against Eastern, and Eastern showed their experience and how to use the ball and win it around the contest. Murrumbina haven't shown that, or didn't show it in their win. Give them and push them up and get them to lose a game, which they haven't done for years. I think they will be a far better team in the long run. And I said to you before, Mac, that get them up into Div 1, what are they going to do? They're going to attract VFL players.
100%.
And they'll position themselves for next season. So I think sooner rather than later, I'd strongly recommend it.
Even just watching Danny warm up, she's like another Taylor
What
Harris.
did you say to me before the game started? You see, she's out there kicking goals from 60 metres.
Yeah, she's got a
She's
boot
awesome.
on her, that's for sure.
Yeah. And she's only 22, and a great talent, and I'm really looking forward to Sunday and her being part of our group and really being brought into the game. She's a natural.
So looking at the rest of the round, so Cranbourne are also still undefeated. So they played against Tyab. They just won by 8 points. It was a bit of a surprise almost. They did all their scoring pretty much in the first quarter. They kicked 22-0, and then after that point, they only kicked 2 points up until the. So they just actually held on, and Tyab kind of came back there. So it was almost a little bit of a surprise. Almost there, so that was good to see. Really interesting.
I'm sure Chris Smith, who's one of my assistant coaches with the Interleague, I'm sure he'll have a few excuses for that. But I am also sure he will take away from that loss early in the season and learn from it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had Hastings and Pearcedale also play. So Zoe, who's also in the Interleague squad, had a fantastic game there. Was the best on for Hastings.
That's 3 weeks in a row if Zoe did that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really, really good
awesome.
work there. And they also Hastings also had 100% goal kicking accuracy. They kicked 7 straight, no points.
Well, if you look at that, 7 shots to 9, I always look at the number of scoring opportunities. So, yeah, it was a close game in the end. I actually had the GameFace app going on Saturday night, and I could see that it was almost 6 goals to 1 or nothing early on. So, Pearcedale must have really come back on that score.
Yeah.
That's an interesting game as well, because that was the grand final rematch from last year. So for Hastings to get up amongst what had happened last year and losing that granny after a very strong year last year is really, I think, hats off to them, because they've come up into a new division and taken out that lead from Pearcedale.
It's really positive for their
There's
club.
one other game I want to mention if you don't get to it.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, anyone that watched last week's show, there was a bit of a tipping contest between Soph and I.
Oh, yeah.
She tipped Warrigal and said that EDS were new players or whatever, and I did say that I thought EDS would have a fair crack at it. Well, 11-6, 72 to 3 points. Thanks, Soph. I've started well.
I think she owes you a drink, Gary.
Yeah,
for that one, we might have to start a tab with that one. So we'll look at some of the goal kickers as well for Division 2. So currently leading on the goal kickers, we've got Aisling Murr and Alice Coves, both from Murrumbina and both on 6 goals there. And Hayley Roberts from Pearcedale is also on 6. So just snagging a few sausage rolls there, which is great to see. Now, Gary, I'm glad beforehand that you mentioned about the GameFace app and that you were checking all the updated scores. Make sure that you haven't already, that you download the GameFace app, because they bring you up to date with all the scores as it happens. Anyway, he's downloaded it now. He didn't even have it on the. Didn't even have it last
I think it's
week.
fantastic. I'm not IT savvy, but I needed it Saturday night, and it's a great app. So get onto it.
There we go. Okay, so Div 3. So Soph can't be here this week to, as I say, she's still in the ice bath, to take us through. But it looks as though Frankston had a really convincing win once again up against Pakenham. They're really leading the pack at the moment.
Red Hill against Red Hill.
Sorry, against Red Hill. Frankston and Pakenham are actually leading the pack at the moment in that division. And they don't actually play each other until round 7. So,
that right?
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting to
Halfway
see where they're up to by that point in time. You know, there's quite a high chance that they'll both be undefeated at that point in time.
Soph mentioned last week they had a practice match against Red Hill, and I think Red Hill came out on top. And even though you look at 25-9, I still look at 5 scoring shots, 4-1 that Frankston kicked, to 1-3. It's a closer game than what you probably think. The standout, as Mornington obviously winning the first 2 games, went across to Pakenham Pakenham and 28 shots to 1.
Yeah, wow.
That's a big difference in Pakenham and where they're at. They are clearly a real benchmark in Div 3 at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Crangle also picked up their first win over Cerberus, so it's good to see. They've had two really tight games, so it's good to see them finally get over the line.
Again, in that division, even if you do have, because there's only 7 teams, right? If you do have those top teams out the front winning all their games, it means the bottom 5 really have finals opportunities, right? On every game's important, and I go back to Mornington beating Coringal and come from behind, and even Officer. Those 2 wins are crucial this time of year, and any game they win is going to make a difference when we come to the last 3 or 4 rounds.
Yeah, so it looks like, I guess, in the future, that a team like Pakenham would definitely be looking at kind of making their way up to the next division with how convincingly they're kind of winning at the moment, you'd think.
Yeah.
I actually went down and watched Pakenham Mornington after our Eastern Mornington game, and Pakenham just have so many strong players in that, just all over the ground. There's just someone everywhere, and they just seem to be numbers everywhere at the contest, getting the ball out cleanly, and it looked like a Division 2 game played by them.
And I think they're probably up to Div 2 the way they've started. And I don't know the answer to this, but Officer were a really strong team last year, and I don't know whether there's been players moved from Officer to Pakenham to make them as strong, or whether it's just been just natural players coming in, but they do seem to stand out.
Yep.
And if you were to be able to make a change, you probably would say, well, why don't we look at putting them up to Div 2 or the league? But look at last season, they only won 1 or 2 games. So if they do go through the whole season undefeated, well, Bass did it last year and up in Div 1, and they should stay in Div 1 for that reason. So I think it's fine.
You almost don't want to be, I guess, crucified for just getting better. Just naturally getting better.
No. Look, if you look at the great way it's been set up over the last 3 years with Div, you've really got those top 4 Div 1 teams that you want to model yourself on. You want to learn from every time you play. And that's what Mornington have to do. They have to do that after a big defeat, and Bass have to do it. Anyone that plays them, Port have to learn from Cranny, right? Because they want to be there. So losing is not a bad thing, but you don't like losing.
It's the best way you learn, as you said. Like when I came back to starting to play footy again, we lose by 100 points every week, and it's not fun losing, but you learn from all the better teams. And I would take little things from the players I'm playing on to make myself better. And as a team, we brought it back as well.
And one of the things I've always believed in, you have to have a team to beat better teams, and that's what you want to. That's why you play footy. And I do still come back to Murrumbina and the position they're in over so many wins and so many years. If they go through this year the same as what they have in the Southern League, I don't think it's helping them as much. I'd really be pushing, get them up in Div 1 and see how they go. I would love to see them play against Port and Mornington at the moment. Right? Really would. Before they get tested.
All right, so to round it out, we'll just touch on some of the goal kickers for Div 3. So currently leading the goal kickers, we've got Sage Hahn from Pakenham with 9, and then her teammate Rosaline Davis also with 8. And then, so it sounds like they've got a pretty potent forward line down there at Pakenham. So there's no games to preview this upcoming week because we've got the Interleague, and that's also why we've got some of these guys on the panel with us today. Okay, so...
Actually, we got 4.
Oh, 4.
We got Mac as well.
All right, there you go.
Most important Mac.
Just blow the whistle. All right, so, Butch, you were actually just talking about the fact that you've kind of come up over a period of time and, you've gone from being defeated a bunch of times to now being at a point where you're part of the Interleague team and also in a leadership role. How's that kind of come across for you?
Yeah, pretty cool. I was a couple of weeks ago... Gary and the coaches sort of got us all to think about what it is to be a part of the Interleague, and I sort of shared my story of, coming back into football, doing my ACL, and then last year just a few things footy-wise weren't going my way, so I almost gave it all away. But came to the Devils for the first time, really that lifted me up and got my spirit back, really tried hard, and I was just hoping to, be playing footy again, so to... be a part of Interleague is awesome because I actually got dropped from it last year, and that was probably one of the reasons why I was like, I can't do anything. But to come back, I'm really proud of myself, and then to be part of the leadership team, that's cherry on the cake. I was not expecting anything like that. I'm just grateful to be a part of anything like this, and to improve as a player as well. And if I can help others improve, that's even better. So really stoked.
I love what you just said. If you can help other players improve, and one of the challenges I've said from day one in getting this group together, we started with 60, we're now down to 30. We've just announced 25 with 2 emergencies. You have the best young talent coming together. There is no guarantee that they're going to gel, and you want them to gel to respect and trust one another. That's what you do at your home clubs, and that's why they've been nominated by their clubs. So to get 25 players trusting and respecting the players alongside them, it is so important. And we've got 22-year-olds and 20-year-olds that are probably grateful to be there, but not 100% confident yet. And I went to AFL Southeast a couple of weeks ago and asked if I could nominate the leadership group. Not at our jumper presentation tomorrow night, but I then got the leadership group together and asked them to help me support those players within our group to make us a strong team Sunday. And I'm rapt that Ellie is one of those. She's shown that from day one. Vicky from Mornington, who I've known as my daughter, as a leader at Mornington. But one other player that's stood out is JJ Jess Johnson from Seaford, who played last year. But the shining light has also been Belinda Ousley, who is our captain from Port Melbourne. Like, she's from one of the lower teams. We've got a leader from one of the top teams, we've got a middle of the road team, and we've got JJ from Seaford, a top team. So the way those girls last Wednesday night sat around with other players and talked to them and brought them in, geez, it gave us a buzz, and we're really looking forward to it. So the 3 vice captains, I want to congratulate you too. I've loved training you and coaching you, but I'm really more excited about what you're doing for the others. You've started a Facebook page, and the messages that are going up are just fantastic. It's our own little club. We are AFL Southeast on Sunday.
I think on that note as well, as you said, obviously as leaders we want to help others as well, but I don't know about you, Vicky, but it's been really easy. I think everyone just gets along straight away from the get-go, and everyone wants to be there, but I see us all as a club, and I think all the other girls do too, and that's just what makes it a lot easier to be there.
Yeah, it's such a strange thing coming from all different teams who we play against, we have rivalries against, and then you come and you train every Wednesday night, and it's literally like you're coming to a whole other family, and it's awesome. It's such a good environment, and that's a credit to the coaches and Rod and all the players as well for making this actually be possible for everyone that's involved.
I know on the weekend, because we obviously played Mornington, and there's a few Mornington players in the team, and I didn't want to tackle them because I want them to play this weekend.
I think I actually said to you on the weekend,
Vicky apologised. She almost came to tackle me and then didn't, and apologised.
I was like, don't want to get you sore for the weekend. Better rest up.
So it's good that we can have a little bit of banter during the game and out of the game, and I'm sure we'll all catch up after interleague. And keep it going.
I've been really, really lucky in having Megan Snart from Easton, who was last year's interleague coach, come on early. She hasn't had the time available the last couple of weeks, but Chris Smith from Tyab's been sensational. He was involved last year. Their commitment and their passion towards this team has been phenomenal. And Michelle Densley from Seaford, for her to come on board as well. I'm just so thankful and amazed at how much time they're giving to this, and you can see why their own clubs are successful. And I've probably got a question for you, Mac. We've heard from the younger ones, new leaders. You're an obvious thought as a leader within our group. You are the captain and leader of Easton. How do you feel about being part of this younger group as one of the older statesmen, if I could say that?
I'm quite happy to just be involved and almost not have any kind of pressure to have to, look over those additional things you have to do as a captain, and just actually, go up to players and be out there and just giving them those few extra kind of, that little bit of extra encouragement, which I think just kind of naturally comes as you play more footy and you just get older. That's just part of what you do. But it's almost like just nice just to sit back and let everyone else do it, and you can just focus on playing some good footy. So, but it's really enjoyable to be a part of and have a mix of new players.
No, that's great. Have you been involved? I think you mentioned last week or the week before when I asked the players, what does it mean? You mentioned about the opportunities that were available when it was the AFL competition. It was country or metro.
Yeah, so, I guess just when I was a bit younger and kind of playing, there was like you could pretty much get involved in state, try out for state if you were invited to that.
Yeah.
Or, they had Vic Country and Metro, and generally a lot of the time, the brilliant players like Daisy Pearce and Meg Hutchins and all those great players were just pretty much always shoo-ins, and you would go to these things and just be like, there's no chance that I'm going to be a part of it. So it's really nice to now be involved in that, have that opportunity and be able to kind of give back. And, I think you kind of hit a point where you just... You don't think so much about your own game, you just want to help other people improve.
Yeah.
So,
and if I can get that attitude from every player, not thinking, and I will talk about it before the game, not thinking about their own game, but thinking about how they can assist and bring others and help others, it'll flow.
Yeah.
The rest will happen.
Yeah.
It'll be fantastic.
100%.
It's probably not good for our game, but I did that with the girl I was playing against at Mornington on the weekend. She was in perfect position to run out, and you guys were kicking in after a point, but she just did not use her voice, and she was perfect spot. So we came back and it ended up being another point, and I said, use your voice.
Yeah.
You were in the best spot then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next thing, she screamed and the ball went straight to her. I didn't let her
it's
mark
great
it,
stuff.
but,
No.
but that's the thing. Like, I'm always want to help. Try and improve everyone, but sometimes not good for our team if we want to win. But luckily we were winning, so I can give a few tips.
Look,
here and
I
there,
think
but-
on your past experience and the limited opportunities that were available for women in football at this level, now we have 25 players from our 3 divisions playing together, and there's been a lot try out for it. But also Southern have 25 girls that'll compete, that are all getting an opportunity on one of the best grounds in the state. All the scouts will be there watching and trying to see whether they want to list you or whatever, but it's about how we play our footy that's important. So great opportunity for everybody, and I'm really pleased this year it's not just the Div 1 players, it's also Div 2, and we threw it open to Div 3, we haven't got any Div 3 players. If I can go through who's been selected, basically. From Bass Coast we have Hannah Mills, and I congratulate her. From Beaconsfield we have Maddie Hessian. From Cranbourne we have 4, Talia Fellows, Riley Geddes, Cass Meads and Rebecca Tiernan. From Easton, we have 6, which is the Mac herself, Wally, Jess Wallace, Sups, Megan Supple, Butch, Ellie Butcher, Smash, Olivia Ang and Chloe Hunt. Edie Ass, we have Liv Purcell. Liv unfortunately broke a finger on the weekend, so she won't play this game, but hopefully we'll play later in the year. Zoe Mitchell, you've mentioned 3 games in Div 1 this year.
Good form.
Best, one of the best players from Hastings. Mornington, we had 4, Vicky Sanford, Morgan Bain and Dee Wilkes. Murrumbina, we've talked about Danny Warren. Port Melbourne, our captain, Belinda Ousley. We have 5 from Seaford, one of the top clubs in JJ, Jess Johnson, Jamie Head, Tyler Sanan, Jessica Baglia and Brittany Roberts. Saints, we have 3, Hannah Bowie, and we mentioned last week about Hannah's dad playing AFL, Bridget Hanrahan and Sarah Black. Tyab, we have 2, Kelly Adamson and Mel Hart, and Warrigal, Sarah Elwin. Each of the Div 1, the top 4 Div 1 teams have 3 or more players. Each of the probably middle of road or lower have around that number as well. And every player when the final 25, you've got phone calls. You haven't got a phone call yet.
No,
you got a
I
phone
don't
call
have
yet?
a phone call.
You are all playing. You are all playing.
Well,
each of
Are you
them,
playing?
each of the Div 1 bottom lower teams have 1 player each. So I think that's great. And we've got 5 players from the other Div 2 teams. So it's really good spread.
It's a really good spread across.
Yeah.
Just quick, Vic, you played, you're involved with last year. How does it this team line up and look compared to what you had last year?
It's actually really exciting this year. I think the opportunity we've had so far in having more than just 3, or I think it was 4 trainings that we had, including selection, the opportunity to have 7 trainings and 3 of them with majority of the squad of 30, it's a really good opportunity to actually develop not only individually but as a group. Like, we're actually building that family, that home environment where you feel like you can actually go to every week and you feel like you just feel like you're going to your local club.
Yep.
And I think that's really important, and that's what we've been able to bring with having a little bit more opportunity with training, the coaching structure that we've had with obviously Dad and Chris and Megan and Michelle, and also we had from Jason from Bass Coast as well.
Yeah.
We've had such a great variety of coaches also coming through and really instructing us on all different things. And I know I've learned a lot. I'll never say that I know everything about footy. And just being at Interleague in these last 7 trainings I feel like I've already developed and learnt a lot individually. But I think for us Mornington girls in particular, we had, I think, 4 of our girls that came across for Interleague were all fairly brand new footballers. So for them to even, like the Morgans and your Ds who have made it through to that next round, for them it's been such an awesome opportunity for them to even be training with the likes of you two in particular, and then you've got so many numbers from Saints as well. It's just that opportunity to play and that opportunity to train. And last year we had that opportunity, but it wasn't structured the way we have this year. And I think going forward every year, it's only going to get bigger and better. And that's what's so exciting about this interleague structure.
I think I'd agree with you on that. Having more training sessions was much better.
Yeah.
Like, I was there for the first part, but it just didn't feel as like it was.
And you were
this year,
competing
so
against each other. You had 4 trainings, I think, and it was
but
competition because you had to improve. You had to prove yourself every week. Whereas at least we've had 60 down to 30 pretty quickly, and that 30's then been able to really work together in the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the things I've enjoyed, I suppose, is I haven't been as actively involved in Mornington, stepping down from that. I've had the time to commit to it and seen a lot of footy, and I really have enjoyed going and watching the games. The Div 1, I really enjoyed watching Murrumbina on the weekend and seeing Danny play and the others. So I'm a little bit sad in some ways and enjoying every second. I said to the girls, enjoy every second, right? There's 6 days to go and it'll go quickly. Just talk to your family, talk to your friends. Want to be there, want to be part of this, and just enjoy it. Come next Monday, I'll have GameFace from there on to be involved. And we were talking about an initiative that we're looking at, Team of the Week, and I'm going to hopefully get involved in Div 1 and select a full team that will change every 2 or 3 weeks, just on performances across the group. So I'll still be watching a lot of footy.
Oh, absolutely. So you better play good out there. We're not going to get in Gary's team.
Thanks.
But if you want to be watching the game, it's going to be streamed live on the GameFace app. There's going to be plenty of updates, so make sure that you've got that app, download it, so you can follow and get all the updates of the Interleague game. So
Actually, Danny Warren's mum was timekeeping. For their game, and I spoke to her and just had a bit of a chat about Danny. She said, is the game going to be telecast? I said, why? She said, I booked a holiday, I'm going to overseas. I said, yes, get your GameFace app, get onto it, it's going to be live streamed. So she was wrapped.
Beautiful. So download, make sure you're watching it. It's going to be really interesting.
I did ask her a quick question though. I said, you're going on holidays. Danny's not going on holidays, is she? And she said, no, Danny's playing footy.
Absolutely not. I think that's probably all we have time for today. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us on the panel today.
Thanks.
And thanks for tuning into us, joining us on the GameFace show. Massive thanks to our sponsors. We've got Swibs Locker, Fitness First, 1111 Fitness, and, of course, the great people at Bendigo Bank. So we'll see you all again next week. We'll have Soph back. And just remember, get your GameFace on.
Get your GameFace on.